America's Great Depression is remembered in black and white photos, breadlines, dust storms, Wall Street ruins. But across the Atlantic, something far darker unfolded. Europe didn't just lose jobs, it lost banks, it lost democracies, and in some countries, it lost peace itself. So why did Europe's Great Depression hit harder, last longer, and reshape the world more violently than America's? This is the story history often skips. When the global economy crashed in 1929, the United States fell from a height. Europe fell from rubble. World War I had destroyed factories, railways, farms, and entire cities. France and Belgium were rebuilding bombed landscapes. Germany was burdened by reparations. Austria-Hungary no longer existed. America entered the 1930s wounded. Europe entered already bleeding. And unlike the US, Europe wasn't one economy. It was dozens of fragile nations tightly bound together by debt, trade, and fear. America had internal problems. Europe had interlocking obligations. Germany owed reparations to France and Britain. France and Britain owed war debts to the United States. So money flowed in circles. American banks to Germany, Germany to France and Britain to America. It worked only as long as American money kept flowing. When Wall Street crashed, that system didn't slow. It snapped. The US could rely on its own central bank and domestic capital. Europe could not. American banks failed, but most were small local institutions. Europe's banks were different. They were deeply interconnected, heavily exposed to foreign loans, politically untouchable. When Austria's largest bank collapsed in 1931, it wasn't just a bank failure, it was a continental panic. Money fled borders, depositors rushed banks, credit froze across Europe. Germany's banks followed, Hungary's reserves evaporated almost overnight. America had a depression, Europe had a systemic financial heart attack. Here's the biggest difference. America eventually abandoned economic orthodoxy, Europe didn't. Most European nations were obsessed with one thing: currency stability. After the trauma of post-war hyperinflation, gold became sacred. Tying money to gold meant balanced budgets, high interest rates, wage suppression, no stimulus. In a depression, this was economic suicide. America could experiment. Europe was handcuffed. To defend gold, European governments chose deflation. That meant cutting wages while prices fell, raising taxes during mass unemployment, slashing welfare as hunger spread. In Germany, industrial output fell 40%. Unemployment hit nearly 1 in 3 workers. In Britain, old industries collapsed. Entire regions were abandoned. In France, prices collapsed. Political chaos exploded. America suffered economically. Europe suffered socially and politically. In the US, the Depression tested democracy. In Europe, it broke it. Why? Because democratic governments offered only austerity, hunger, patience. Extremists offered certainty, scapegoats, action. Germany turned to Nazis. Italy doubled down on fascism. Spain fell into civil war. Eastern Europe slid into authoritarianism. Economic despair became political fuel. Britain also suffered badly, but it made one critical decision. In 1931, it abandoned gold. The pound fell, interest rates dropped, exports became competitive. It wasn't painless, but it worked. While Europe remained trapped by ideology, Britain bent its rules. That flexibility saved its democracy. America raised tariffs. Europe retaliated. Borders closed. Trade collapsed by over 60%. Countries stopped cooperating and started competing for survival. Instead of recovery, the world fractured into hostile economic camps. The depression deepened, and diplomacy died with it. Europe didn't recover through reform. It recovered through rearmament. Factories restarted to build tanks. Unemployment vanished into uniforms. Economic recovery arrived, carrying weapons. The Great Depression didn't lead directly to World War II, but it cleared the path. Europe suffered more than America because it was already broken. It was trapped by debt. It clung to rigid economic systems, and it paid the price politically. The Depression didn't just destroy wealth, it destroyed trust. That's why after 1945, the world rebuilt differently. No gold standard, global financial institutions, economic cooperation over nationalism, because leaders had learned the hard way. Economic collapse doesn't stay economic for long. If you think economic systems are boring, remember this: they decide whether people lose jobs or lose freedom. If you enjoyed this video, check out our episode on America's Great Depression. Subscribe for more deep dives into the forces that shape our world. We'll see you next time.